Hello friends, it's Céline and welcome to Stars Hollow. I wish. Sadly, Luke's diner is not in my proximity, so London will have to work for now. This video is a collection of knitting patterns that look like they've come straight out of a Gilmore's wardrobe. I'm so excited because I've dug the internet and I found some really close matches to the original outfits that Rory and Lorelai wore. But before I jump in, please let me know in the comments who your favorite character is. Mine, I think, has to be Kirk. Buckle up because nothing says fall in Stars Hollow like coffee, books, and an impractically chunky cardigan. Speaking of chunky knits, I of course have got to talk about that sweater that got the knitting community hooked. Rory wears this stunning, oversized, cream-colored fisherman's cable knit in the pilot. It's so emblematic of those cozy feelings we feel when we watch the show. And I think if you're a hardcore Gilmore Girl fan, you gotta make the Rory sweater. And of course, it's not a coincidence I'm wearing my Ingrid sweater by Petite Knit, because this is the closest thing I have to that in my hand knit wardrobe. The Ingrid sweater does give Rory Gilmore cable knit vibes, but not spot on, because of course the cables here develop horizontally and we're looking for something that develops vertically. If you've recently taken a stroll on Ravelry's most popular pattern pages, you may have stumbled upon the Rory Gilmore sweater by Gia. Pretty much exactly replicates the original design that Rory wears in the first episode. Now, the pattern's free, but there is a catch. It's only available in one size. However, I think it's totally worth it to play around with the gauge to obtain your desired size. If you're looking to make the sweater a little bit smaller, you can use a thinner yarn. On the other hand, you can attempt to go a little bit larger by holding more strands of yarn together and hitting a larger gauge than the one suggested in the pattern. What you could also do is merge this free Rory Gilmore pattern with any of your favorite stockinette sweaters. You can use a basic stockinette pattern for the stitch counts and all of that, and then in this free pattern, you can reference the charts to create your own bespoke Rory Gilmore sweater. I'm just looking at it on my phone here, but yeah, it's got that main character diamond cable right at the center of the sweater, and then it's filled in with double moss stitch in the middle, which is exactly what happens on Rory's sweater. And then it's bordered on the side with two different types of cable. There's a little bit more of double moss stitch on the shoulder, and then the diamond pattern extends down the arm. Now, because this is only available in one size, I did select a couple more patterns. One that looks very, very similar is the Heart Chain sweater by From Mayo. The main feature here is that diamond cable in the center. That's what really gives the Rory Gilmore sweater look. It also has those braided cables down the side of the sweater. However, this one's called Heart Chain because the cables right here look like little hearts, which I think is really cute. If you don't want to be too on the nose and replicate Rory's sweater exactly, there are a lot of cable knits that really give off that look still. For example, the Froya sweater by Ingrid DYB. The cabling isn't as intense in the sense that the cables are just smaller. There's not one big statement cable down the center. It's a little bit more detailed, let's say, but it does have the same diamond double moss stitch pattern, but this time it's placed down the sides of the body rather than in the center. This one has a lot of positive ease, which is exactly what Rory was wearing. It was like really oversized. She was folding up her cuffs because it was so oversized, right? And you always got to pair it with that backpack because you can't do it without the backpack. Oh yes, you best believe that this is one of those videos where every minute I change location. But anyways, a design like Rory's cabled sweater can look a little bit daunting. Let's be honest. It's just because it requires you to know so many stitches and skills, and whenever I'm feeling scared about a new technique, I love me some online research. I need some hand holding so that I can avoid having a panic attack. I'm not even joking. I remember that when I began knitting, like the first couple times I did some mistakes, I full on was about to have a panic attack. Good thing I didn't overreact or anything. To stop that from happening, the first place I go to is the Knitting Circle, who are kindly sponsoring today's video. The Knitting Circle is your online resource for all things knitting. It offers premium videos, tutorials, and patterns covering knitting basics, core skills, and advanced techniques. If my memory isn't lying, I've only ever knit like 2 cable sweaters, I believe. So if I were to go into the Rory cabled sweater, I would definitely do some research first. There's this premium video by Jill Wright called Exploring Advanced Cables, and it takes you beyond the standard braided cable. She covers things like the diamond shape, which is what you use in the Rory sweater, or Celtic style, or loops, and all funky things like that. This video helps me wrap my head around what I'd get myself into knitting the Rory sweater and would stop me from getting a Lorelai style freak out. Also, at the beginning of October, I got to take part in a live event hosted by an instructor who was sharing tips and answered questions. And I also got to engage with the knitting community in real time, which is always super fun to make new crafty friends. In case you're interested in joining the platform, you can get your first full year of the Knitting Circle Premium for only $1.49. The offer is valid for new members only, and by the end of it, you'll be so skilled that you could probably come first place at the Stars Hollow Knit-a-thon. Now, for a pattern that I would genuinely consider putting on my knitting list is this piece that Lorelai wears. You guys, I'm so impressed with how good of a match I found for this pattern. Look at the Cozy by Judith Bryan. Brian. I'm sorry. My Italian brain is confusing me. This is the kind of sweater you'd wear for breakfast at the Dragonfly Inn, preferably eating a stack of pancakes with Lorelai level enthusiasm. It's got the same ease, the same fit, the same drapey cowl neckline. I mean, granted, this knitting pattern is striped, but you can just knit it in whatever color you want. It's so 2000s. That neck is absolutely gorgeous. I'm not sure why it's not really popular these days because it's so flattering on. The posing in the photos here are kind of similar too, which is a little bit freaky. I hadn't realized until now. Let's look at the construction. So Cozy is a top-down seamless sweater knitted both in the round and back and forth. Seamless top-down. That's all I want to hear. The collar is shaped and the body is worked straight. Listen to this. The construction of the garment creates a diagonal fabric. Diagonal fabric? Isn't that so cool? But yeah, pair it with some skinny jeans or a nice mini skirt and you're literally Lorelai. If I had to pick one feature that completely gives off that Gilmore fantasy, it's turtleneck. More precisely, tight turtlenecks, just like this one that Rory wears. Gives off major Gilmore Gazette energy. It's this beautiful fitted ribbed pullover with a high neck. I think the slight flare at the sleeves is my favorite thing about it. I also do love the shaping of the ribbing, which is not very visible in this photo because obviously it's knitted in dark yarn, so it's a little bit hard to see, but there is some sort of ribbing choreography that shapes the hips, goes in and out, and I really enjoy that. And I do have a soft spot for ribbed garments that have shaping in them. It just looks so pretty. And look at that tweed in the yarn. It's so stunning. To match this design, I found the Hudson by Julie Hoover, which is a very similar rendition. It's fitted, it's got the ribbing, the high neck. It doesn't have the slight flare at the sleeves, but it's super easy to modify the pattern and integrate that. It hugs the body really nicely like Rory's sweater does on her. This one's a raglan. It's kind of hard to tell how Rory's sweater was constructed because it's so dark and obviously the quality of the screenshot is not the greatest, but overall I think it's a match because this knit totally gives off the vibe of I'd rather be at a small town bookstore than at a party, which I completely relate to. Actually, to add to that, still referencing the sweater that Rory wore, I did find another pattern that totally gave off the same vibes. It's not a close match in construction. It's actually a cardigan, not even a sweater, but it's completely something that Rory would wear. This one's called, I believe that's French, Deuxième Cardigan by Star-Crossed Knits. I love Star-Crossed Knits. She's so good. She makes such pretty designs. They're so girly. Check them out if you haven't heard of her already. In fact, she might have worn something that looks exactly like this. I just have not found or seen a reference photo and I just don't remember from watching it. But this one is so pretty. It's a fitted ribbed v-neck cardigan. I adore it. Just imagine wearing this frolicking around Stars Hollow, headed towards Deuce's Market to buy some frozen pizza. Now let's jump to Rory in her Yale days. Look at this classic ribbed / cabled pattern. Of course, in the Gilmore Girl era, you gotta have those tight-fitting garments. That's what gives off the 2000 vibes. That's super essential. So if you feel like a pattern is very similar, but doesn't quite have that Gilmore Girl fit, just size down, knit 1 or 2 sizes smaller, and you'll be grand. Anyways, all that talk about sizing, I'm specifying in this pattern, in this design that Rory wears, because I found a knitting pattern that is exactly the same thing, but fits a little bit with more positive ease. And I'm talking about the Sandro pullover by Knitting Phlegm. So as you can see, it alternates cables with little channels of just stockinette, but this one has a little bit more drape. So all you gotta do is just size down. Usually I would pick a size small. I would probably go for a size extra small if I want to obtain the Rory look, or I'll just go for a smaller gauge. So I'll still knit my size, but instead of going for a DK weight, I might go for a sport weight, for example. The Sandra pullover has a nice drop shoulder construction. I can't load the pattern listing right now, but it looks like you start at the back panel, you work that for a bit, and then you pick up for the shoulders at the front, and obviously you work the cables as you go. After you've picked up for the two shoulders, you join them in the round to shape the neckline, work down a little bit, and then join back and front panels. So you start working everything together in the round, because we love working in the round, you know. I'm not the biggest fan of knitting flat. Let me know in the comments where you stand. Are you team knitting flat or knitting in the round? But yeah, this pattern is pretty much exactly the same. And if Miss Patty saw you wearing this, she would immediately start telling everyone that you're probably dating a Yale man. If you're out on the road, feeling lonely and so cold, all you gotta do is call my name and I'll be there on the next train. Where you lead, I will follow anywhere that you tell me to. If you need, and give me to be with you, I will follow where you lead. I mean, the theme tune is one of the most iconic things. You can see my pajama trousers. Can I just repeat myself and say that I'm so chuffed with how close of a match these knitting patterns are to the actual clothes from the show. Look at Lorelai. And then the knitting pattern. It's the same, down to the length and the fit and the pockets and the way the fabric folds at the neck. It's just very impressively similar. There's just something so iconically 2000s about a long cardigan with pockets like this. I mean, this kind of makes sense because the pattern was published in November 2014, and back in that time I totally had like 4 cardigans that looked like this. I feel like they were really popular in the 2010s as well. I can't even remember Lorelai specifically wearing this cardigan, but I know that this is something she would have worn. So I just headed on Pinterest and I typed Lorelai Gilmore long cardigan, and this was the first photo. I feel like if the cabled sweater was Rory's peak Gilmore moment, this is definitely Lorelai's when it comes to big knits. And I found a knitting pattern to match. This is the Portage by Dandelion Girl. Is it Portage? I'm slowly losing my brain cells. Portage? Portage. I should be looking this up. Anyways, you know what? For the entertainment of things, I'm gonna leave it in. Portage/portage. In Lorelai's photo, we don't see what the back looks like. So we're just gonna pretend it looks exactly the same as the portage, which has a fun textured back. I believe it's in honeycomb brioche stitch, which I've done once before in my honey bucket bag. I'm not gonna lie, that project was quite hard on the hands, but I believe it's because I was working on really small needles. And listen, worst case, you can always just switch to stockinette and modify the pattern if the honeycomb brioche is not your thing. However, I am gonna tell you, it's extremely scrumptious to the touch, and the fabric that results from it is absolutely heavenly. So I do really recommend you try it out. I really like that detail because it brings a surprise factor to this stockinette cardigan. It makes it really special, and I'm telling you, it probably also provides extra insulation because the fabric of the honeycomb brioche is so thick. But this portage is a comfortable top-down raglan that is worked flat. The sleeves are worked in the round, and there's only a small bit of seaming required to attach the deep pockets to the hem. I actually cannot wait for the day that I'll knit something with pockets. I feel like that's another level of satisfaction with hand knits. A couple months ago, my friend Karen knit something with pockets, and I don't think I've ever seen her happier. This pattern would also be such a nice, cozy, cuddly garment to wear at home, to snuggle up in front of TV and watch your favorite soap operas with a hot chocolate and some popcorn and maybe a hot water bottle on the side. I would never think of pairing this cardigan with a flannel type shirt underneath, but you know what? It works. I love this cardigan. I'm so happy I was able to find a good knitting pattern match for it. It just pairs perfectly with a mug of coffee the size of your head and a witty comeback. Now listen, Rory and Lorelai are our queens, but we shall not forget about Sookie. She's just as iconic. In one of the episodes, she walked out wearing this. Excuse me? Is that Mary Wallen or what? If you guys don't know, there's this designer called Mary Wallen, and she's the queen of insane, stunning, pinkish, cutesy color work. I would actually not be surprised if the designer of what Sookie wore in the TV show was actually Mary Wallen. Let's look at the Betha cardigan by Mary Wallen, for example. Those small collarwork stripes in the green, in the pinks, in the burgundies, and those like deep dusty violets. That's just so Mary Wallen. Now, I can't really remember if Sookie's wearing something open, like a cardigan, like a long cardigan, or a sweater, but Mary Wallen has the fleur, which is the sweater version of the Betha, essentially, so you can decide which one you make. Now, of course, Sookie has more of a jacket because it goes down. It looks like it also has a hood, so there's not a pattern that I could find that's exactly the same in the fit, but in terms of the color work, Mary Wallen is your safest bet. Now, there's one thing that I know about Mary Wallen that I'm just gonna let you guys know. I'm pretty sure that for the most part, if not all of her patterns, she knits them flat. Even if it's a sweater, she doesn't knit them in the round. She will knit the front panel and the back panel separately and then sew them together. I would not do that. I would tweak the pattern, modify it to make sure that I could just knit it in the round for the most part where I could. Of course, maybe not for the shaping, but definitely for the rest of the body and the sleeves. If you're a steeking queen, you can also resort to that, to just knit the whole thing in the round and avoid color working on the wrong side. But I know that some people would rather stay away from doing color work on the wrong side. Even if I were to knit the cardigan, I would totally steek the opening, because it's one thing to do a little bit of color work on the wrong side, but a whole garment, I think this is probably fingering weight. That would be kind of a lot. But anyways, these are just a couple of tips and some food for thought in case you did want to consider this pattern. But it's just so adorable and it screams Sookie, and I love it when a garment is just so coded to that specific character, and this is exactly the case with Sookie, which I love so much. If you know, I did release a pattern called the Sookie cardigan and the Sookie sweater because I was designing it while watching Gilmore Girls for the first time, and Sookie was just the cutest character, and since I knitted my sample in a cute bubblegum pink, I felt like that's exactly the color of Sookie's soul. So it's just so cute. It's exactly what you would wear while whipping up like 12 pies and accidentally setting off the smoke alarm. I've been dreaming about making a Mary Wallen pattern for so long, and Sookie might be the perfect excuse. I know it looks super labor intensive, but if Sookie manages to make 12 different types of risotto in one night, what's a little bit of color work? Right, guys, it's definitely time for a snack. And I thought, in typical Gilmore Girl fashion, I should have a Pop-Tart. I've never had a Pop-Tart before, so I thought this video would be the perfect opportunity to try it for the first time. So let's head to a little shop, grab a Pop-Tart. I hope they have it. And then I'll do a taste test at home because I'm getting too cold. All right, I'm back home and I've got my Gilmore Girl snack ready. So here's a heated up Pop-Tart. I put it in the toaster. That's what it said in the instructions. And I could only find these chocolate ones, which I know are not the most popular ones, but I hope they're still good. And then I don't drink coffee, so I put my tea in this coffee cup. So it looks like I am drinking coffee. So let's try the Pop-Tart. I'm kind of scared. So, what's the verdict? Okay, I'm not a fan of the cracker personally. It's just a little bit cardboard vibes. I would usually be right on board with Lorelai and Rory because I love me some pizza and, you know, burgers and fries and stuff, but I'm not sure how I feel about the Pop-Tarts. Right, my housemate Margot is tasting the Pop-Tart. How do you feel about it?
This tastes like food when I had COVID, like when I didn't smell or taste anything.
Anyways, thanks Margot. Have a lovely run. As I enjoy my tea, I thought I would talk about the next pattern. There's this one girl that I follow on Instagram. She's actually a model and she's modeled for Isier, I think Kit Couture, potentially Sandnes Garn, I'm not sure, but I know some yarn brands have had her as a model and I wonder if that's why she's gotten into knitting. She creates really cool and trendy, lovely fitted garments. Her website is Mathilde Knits and she has the Eve long sleeve that looks like this top that Lorelai wore when she was visiting her parents for one of the dinners. So it is a very elegant, tight fitted blouse with a keyhole opening at the neck, which is such a lovely cutesy detail. The garment's pretty simple. It's got this scoop neckline and the keyhole just adds a lot of character to it. It's the kind of knit that says, I'm not a regular mom, I'm a cool mom. I guess the only difference in Mathilde's version is that it's got tie closures, but I actually like that added little feature. Of course, Lorelai's has a red trim, which you could very easily integrate in your knit just by picking up stitches in a different color and creating that border. Oh my goodness, Lorelai looks so good in this photo. I love the skirt that she pairs with the top, which is basically the same color as the trim of the blouse. And then the shiny brown leather boots are swoon worthy. I love her hair in this one. Not sure if this is her natural hair texture, but it's definitely one of my favorites of hers that she wears on the show. And she's absolutely stunning. And so is Mathilde wearing her Eve long sleeve. This is a 10 out of 10 blouse for me. Emily Gilmore would for sure critique your tension or something, but secretly she'd be impressed because you handmade it. When I think of Lorelai, I think of this. It's just so fun and playful, very feminine, also a tiny bit grungy. I don't know what it is about it. Can you call it a camisole even though it has the high neck, I guess? I don't know. It's basically the sleeveless top that's got this beautiful tight turtleneck. It's so 2000s, and I found the exact replica, guys. Oh my goodness, it's the exact same thing. Here's to the papyrus top by Ullen Knitwear. And what are we all waiting for? Why are we not wearing this? It's got the exact same fit, the same ease, the same turtleneck, the same sleeveless situation. I would probably make it in silk. I wouldn't say this would be like my summer go-to top because of the turtleneck. It's definitely a layering piece, but I think silk would be the perfect fiber for this. Just because it's basically self-regulating in terms of temperature. It's really good for the warmer weather, but also for the colder weather. So it retains heat, but also is very breathable. So it's good for a high neck sleeveless situation, because if you were to use something warmer, I feel like you'd be cold at your arms but really warm at the neck, and it would be just hard to wear, you know? And silk would be the perfect compromise. Ullen uses lace weight. The gauge is 27 stitches, and I actually have the perfect yarn recommendation for this. It's from Ito, and I think it's called Kinu. I'll just confirm on the screen, but that's a lace weight barrette silk. So airy and fabulous. It's like this pattern's made for that yarn. So yeah, that's what I would make it in, and definitely either a deep color. You guys know I'm obsessed with chocolatey browns. If you do want to approach it like Lorelai, you definitely should go for something a little bit more vibrant than maybe a muted pastel shade. This one has 12 sizes. That's incredible. Difficulty, intermediate, in case you're interested to know. It would definitely be a labor of love though, because it is worked on 3mm, but it's just so chic. I think it's definitely worth it. It's the perfect top to wear and be overly sarcastic to a cute diner owner. Would you not agree with me when I say that my outfit's missing something? Perhaps I need a skinny scarf. For this one, I don't even have a pattern because it's as simple as walking yourself to your stash, picking out a couple yarns, casting on 10, 15 stitches, and just knitting straight stockinette for like 2 meters. If you're looking for some instant gratification, if you want a stash bust, if you want to spruce up your outfit because it looks a little bit too plain, or you're unsure of how you can style things, and if you want to put a funky touch to your look, the Gilmore skinny scarf is the way to go, my friend. I would look at this piece more as a big necklace rather than a scarf, because the scarf will absolutely do nothing for you in terms of functionality. At least for me, when I'm cold, I need to wear like a proper scarf, but I love that it's so thin that you can wear it indoors as an accessory, the same way you would like a statement necklace. Other than it being really appealing look-wise, it's also appealing to me if I think about the experience of knitting one. These would be so fun to make, especially if you're changing colors, if you're using up your yarn stash, if you're testing out different stitches. It would be such a potato chippy project that you constantly want to work on and finish. It's low effort and low commitment, and it provides a lot of freedom for you to just have fun and experiment and just kind of improvise. I love seeing the variety of mini scarves that Lorelai and Rory wear on the TV show. It's also another emblematic one of the 2000s. It's such an iconic piece that also a lot of celebrities used to wear in those times. And of course, we all see that the Y2k aesthetic is so popular these days. Like, you'll walk into an Urban Outfitters and it's all clothes that Rory would have worn. Maybe a lot of things from Urban Outfitters would be a little bit too revealing for Rory, but you know what I mean. I think the best first step you can take if you want to tap into that aesthetic is to make yourself a mini scarf, but not like Sophie scarf mini scarf. I'm talking a thin scarf. That's the word. And actually, because the thin scarf is so thin, it would probably take you a couple of days to make. Literally, knitting a thin scarf will take you far, way less time than waiting for Rory and Jess to finally talk things out Anytime I see that we're heading towards a Friday night dinner at the grandparents' scene, I get so excited to see what the gals are wearing because of course they have to attend looking all nice and elegant and poised to impress the one and only queen, Emily Gilmore. Now that I look at the photo, I realize that Rory is not at her grandparents' house, she's at her place. Can anyone confirm or deny that she's worn this outfit at her grandparents'? This piece is so pretty and dainty and girly. I'm obsessed with it, and I love that it's light blue and it's paired with this gorgeous brown skirt. I think light blue and brown is one of the best combinations ever, and it's very rare. I don't really see it a lot. Please take a moment to look at that color combination and to consider it. Try and make that pairing yourself because it looks so cute. For sure, the feature that stands out in this design is the change of fabric mid-torso. I think it's ribbing. It's kind of hard to see. Maybe it's some other stitch. She's got stockinette at the bust, and then the tummy area is in a different stitch, and I feel like that cinches her in really nicely. It just gives some interest and texture to the design. So to match, I found the Paris light sweater by Caroline Deal, which has twisted rib placed exactly as it is in Rory's little blouse. It's nice and fitted and totally Rory coded. Now the patterns that I've shared with you so far have been better matches than this one is, because the Paris light sweater has a high/mock neck situation and it's also a raglan construction, whereas Rory's obviously has the V-neck, is constructed with something along the lines of a European sweater construction. So the fit of the two is slightly different at the shoulders because the seams sit different. Obviously the raglan goes across the front of the body here, whereas a more European style construction has the seam at the shoulder this way. But because they're so fitted, I think they're kind of interchangeable in the sense that the final look is very, very similar. Also, the pattern's free, which is really nice. We always love a free pattern. This photo of the Paris light just appeared on my screen and I looked at it and I thought, yes, this totally looks like something that Rory would wear while doing her homework and emotionally overthinking her crush for Dean. Oh my gosh, I have a very important question to ask. I can't believe I didn't think to ask this at the beginning of the video. Who is your favorite Gilmore boy? Are you team Dean, Jess, or Logan? I am team Luke and Kirk. Ah, what a wholesome time it's been, taking a trip down Gilmore Lane. I don't think I've ever had this much fun preparing for a pattern roundup, if I have to be honest with you. In the last couple evenings, I've just been so keen to finish work and get on with my research. I've just been on Pinterest, sorting through all of the most iconic Gilmore girl fashion, and then hunting through Ravelry for the best matches. It's been so much fun. I've been having the time of my life, and I could have shown you so many more patterns in this video, but you guys probably have other things to do. And I wanted to leave a lot of space for you guys to take part in the search for the perfect Gilmore patterns. I would love for you guys to let me know in the comments if you know of one or more knitting patterns that are completely Gilmore Girls coded. There are just so many iconic, distinct vibes coming off of that show, and from what I've seen, the knitting community has totally captured those vibes perfectly. There is even an unofficial Gilmore Girl pattern book, or maybe it's official pattern book from Gilmore Girls. I don't even know. So I'm looking forward to reading your comments. Friends, it's been real. Thank you so much for sticking till the end of this video. I really appreciate the company. I will leave my Instagram on screen in case you'd like to follow my creations more in real time and hang out on there. I will say bye for now, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!